What's up YouTube? My name's Quickie, welcome back to this channel. I'm playing. I don't sound very good. That's because this week has mostly been filled with COVID. Again. It's a nightmare. I don't do poorly very well at all. This is the midweek giveaway update jobby thing. But I'm also, I'm sort of playing, and I've had a few deliveries because I've been ordering some stuff, which we'll get to in a minute. But I'm also trying some different bits and pieces. So I've dragged out the shrinker stretcher again because I want to try and get that seat hump sorted. Where are we? Right, here's my seat hump. I do love that bit. Really do like that bit. I'm not too happy about all this bit. So, what's the easiest way to explain? Right, I might be making it out of alley if this doesn't work. The problem that I've got is down here, these back bits. That needs to be dead straight to follow that line on the back of the seat hump. It needs a bit of a bulge here, and then this bit needs to be dead straight. And wheeling it, I can't do it. It's not happening. So I'm playing about the shrinker stretcher because if I put a 90-degree fold in here and then I'll shove it through the shrinker stretcher, this is what happens. Let me show you. So it was a dead flat piece. We just put a 90-degree in it, and then I've just been shrinking this edge. You can see the little bite marks where the teeth on the jaws has been engaging with it. It is lovely and flat that way. Don't know if you can see it. It stays nice and flat there, apart from when you get to the very end, but to be fair, this wasn't terribly flat when I first started. You do get a bit of a score down there as well, but you also get quite a bit of a curve. So my line of thinking, and I don't know if it's going to work or not, and I might just be trashing that, is I'm going to slit this about there and there, probably, put this into a flange, and then I'm going to shrink or stretch it, whatever is needed, to try and get this bit flat. That's the idea. Then I'm going to do the same bit across the bottom here and get that bit to go flat, because that should constrain it, and then I can just work on this hump. And I'm hoping I'll be able to wheel it and get that hump into it so it goes around the corner. I don't know, it might work. All this bit isn't too bad. It needs to neck in a little bit there, not a lot. I could do that quite easily, but I need to constrain that edge and that edge. So that's what I'm sort of playing about with. Ali works a hell of a lot faster than steel does. I mean, that is literally 3 passes, and I'm not heaving on it or anything. I'm not putting massive guffs in this, but it certainly puts a hell of a curve into it. So I've also got some 2mm sheet alley coming, only a little bit, like 1/2 metre by 1/2 metre sort of stuff. But I don't know, I'm going to need that to do the number plate board, which we'll get to in a second. But I reckon this could work. It's certainly, once it's got that in it, I mean, it is properly bloody strong there. So by constraining that edge so it's straight, I think is going to help get the seat hump into the shape that I want it. So basically I'm just playing this week because, like I say, I've been full of COVID. I haven't really been doing a great deal, if I'm honest. But I'm feeling a little bit better now, so I want to sort of crack on and get stuff done. What else have I been doing? Right, so I've also been mucking about with Sharpies and blowtorches. I've never annealed alley, believe it or not. I don't normally work in it. I haven't got an oxyacetylene torch, so I can't soot this up. And I haven't got a candle, so I can't do that either. But somebody said in the comments that Sharpie works like soot does. Yeah, I know. But I think the burn-off temperature is 280 degrees or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but apparently it's really close to the temperature you need to get to anneal alley. So I've already had a go at this end, just by bending it round a piece of bar, like that. And I need to get a 60-degree bend in it. And this again is 2mm thick, which is quite tough, actually. And I just want to see what... if it's any easier now I've done this Sharpie thing, and if it actually works or not, because I'm going to need to do this for the rear number plate mount. So he's nipped up. This was actually quite hard to do, if I'm honest. And that is a damn sight easier. God, isn't it? It's like putty. Bloody hell. That really is easy. Okay, so that probably works. But I mean, it may not be exactly the same as annealing it with an oxy torch and blah de blah de blah, but it certainly makes it softer. And it certainly moves easier. And there's no cracking or anything. So we could be onto something there. We could be onto something. Right, reason why I'm doing this is I've got some stuff coming for the rear number plate thing. I've come up with a CAD design which I'm quite happy with. I think it's going to look the part, and we're going with like the standoff thing and blah 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 blah. So I'll get some pictures and I'll stick them up so you can see what's what. But there's going to be a standoff that comes off the back of the under tray, and then it's going to go into a piece of tube, bit like that. I think is it 20 or 25? I can't remember what size I got. But I've got it coming in alley tube. It's 1.5mm wall thickness or 1.75 wall thickness, something like that. And that's going to sit across there, and then there's going to be a board that comes down. The picture would have been up by now, so you'll see what I'm on about. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it out of alley because I want to keep it lightweight and quite, you know, strong and everything else. And the shape of it is going to give it a load of strength anyway. It'll be fitted to the curve, like underneath the seat where it sort of comes up at the back, plated off, and there'll be fixings from the inside, so you won't see any fixings or anything, and it's going to span the flat bit, so I'll be able to stick riv nuts in it or weld on bosses or something like that, so we can screw it in from underneath the seat and you won't see any fixings at all. We'll have a hole in there so all the cabling and everything else can come out, and then I've got some bar end indicators that can. So I've got two sets of them. I wanted something really simple and plain, so I got some of these, like that. And they are really simple and plain, right? It's an aluminium body on it, although I think this top bit is plastic, if I'm honest. I don't really know. But the body of it's alley, and they're quite bright and everything else. So, you know, we should be good, I think. But these will essentially go in the ends of the tube, so it kind of sticks out past the number plate, number board in the middle. There's got to be a certain width for the MSVA thing. Your indicators have to be a certain height off the floor, and they also have to be a certain width apart, and it's different front to rear. So even though we might be sticking a smaller number plate on it once we've got the test out of the way and everything else, this can't change. It has to be this you know, this width sort of thing. So they're going to go in there. These are also going to go in the bar ends as well. I'm not 100% sold on them, just because that bit's plastic. I'm sure it's plastic. This bit is definitely alley, but that bit I think is plastic. So I don't know, but either way, if I end up getting some different ones, it's going to be the same sort of fit in here, if that makes sense. So, you know, it will just fit and that'll all be good. Reason for doing this bit and seeing if I can work it is I need to bend the support that comes off from the under tray down to the bar needs to be shaped. So it's going to be like a 20mm bar going through here, but I want this end a lot bigger, so it's going to be bent in sort of like a triangle to give it some strength and then welded. And I was mucking about in CAD, because what I was hoping I could do is model it up in CAD, you know, as a sheet metal object, and then split it and then open it out to get a pattern which I could print out, you know, sort of life size, if that makes sense, and that would just give me a template to cut around, and I can mark out my bend lines and just bend it, and that'll be it. But CAD's being a complete goon and it won't unfold it for me. So I'll have to come up with a different way of doing it. But anyway, that's the idea. So all that stuff is coming. I've got the filler rod. So that's all peachy. It is quite thin stuff. And I found that welding alley, to get your puddle going, you have to really crank it down so you get loads of heat into it to get the puddle going. Then you can back off the heat and start doing your dabs and get your weld going. But that initial get the heat going, it's quite easy to burn through the buggers. So it's probably all going to get preheated first up anyway, just to help with that. But I think we're going to be okay. So that should all be good. That shouldn't be a hard one to make, I think, but it will be quite interesting to do. The more interesting thing to do is going to be this. If it doesn't work in steel, then we might be making it out of alley, because this is going to shape on an English wheel really quite quickly. 2mm goes in the shrinker stretcher quite happily, and I can get quite a decent curve to it. So then I've just got to worry about fixings and stuff. So anyway, there's that. I also got these. Right, explanation time. Where's the other one actually? Right, a few people got the wrong idea on this, which is fine. I probably didn't explain it very well. Right, I've already made my decision. We're going to be following that line there, so it's going to be kicked up a bit like that, just because I think it looks better than down like that. I think it looks too low. Whereas you bring it up a little bit, I think it looks better. Although that said, it doesn't look bad like that. It's just too close to this sort of angle and stuff as well. So, I'm going to have it as a marked difference. So we're following that one. I've got another can coming. And I was going to be going with carbon, because somebody said they're a little bit quieter, and it would be a bit lighter. But I've decided that this is going to be welded to the link pipe. So it's got the can I've got coming is, I think Craig put one on the GS, or it was very, very similar to the one that I've got coming. I will get a picture and I will shove it up so you can see. But what I'm going to do is, it's got these slits on here as well, because ordinarily it would be held on with a clamp. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to open these slits up where it would normally squish together, because I don't want to have a clamp. And that, where the link pipe goes in, it's going to be welded down those slits to keep it in situ. It's all going to go well into it. It'll be a dead snug fit. If anything, I should have to force it in. And I can always shrink this down a little bit should I need to. But we ain't going to be getting any leaks or anything there. And if it's welded, then it's all going to be quite a solid lump, and I can dress it down and make it look nice, and it will just be a step in the tube rather than having a great big bulky clamp. That means that the can and the link pipe is going to be one. The reason why I've gone with stainless is, one, this doesn't weigh a great deal really, not at all. But if it's all one and it's supported in the middle and at the end, this is not going to be flopping about. The other reason is, when you're tigging, you do actually put quite a bit of heat into it, and I'm not going to be dismantling a can just to weld it to then have to rebuild it and everything else. I'd rather just go with a stainless one, which, that'd be fine, wouldn't it? And apart from that, if it gets like this one and other carbon cans that I've had in the past, they get scuffed up and that, and they just look poo after a little bit of time. Whereas if it's stainless, at least you can Scotch-Brite it and bring the finish back, and keep it looking presentable for longer, basically. So we've got that can coming. It's either 370 or 400mm in length, something like that. It's got a bit more wadding to it than this one, so it should be a little bit quieter. And it's got a DB killer, because I can't find the one that went in this one. Same as everything else. Oh, on that note, I did find the keys. You remember I lost the keys? I found the keys. I've got the ZZR keys and the ASBO keys back that I don't need anymore. I knew it'd turn up eventually. My mandrel bend is turned up as well, which I'm very, very happy with. So basically I've gone for a 90 degree. Why do they do that? They put it right on the bloody bend, look. It's like etched, engraved or whatever. Really annoying. I don't care if it comes from Profusion exhausts, whatever. I don't want to see that bit. So yeah, I've gone for a 90 purely because I'm not going to need 90 degrees. So essentially it gives me two chances at it before I go, oh, cock it, I need another one. So that's going to do to get us into the exhaust. So as he sits like that, I need a bend that comes in. The link pipe that I've got up there gets me part of the way, but not all the way. So, you know, actually I'll need that link pipe. Hang on. So yeah, this link pipe has got a few curves in it, and a nasty bit that needs to be sorted. But that can all be dressed up and it'll look just as new as that one. So he's going to get me part of the way with that end, like that. I just need this curve to come in the other way. It might be a case that I can just chop this and rotate the end to get me where I need to be, but until I get into the fabrication I don't really know, and I don't want to have to stop halfway through just to order one of these to then carry on. And I can always reuse this anyway, so that's fine. So there's that, we got all that, that's peachy. I did see this online as well, and it didn't look like that. It didn't look like that at all. The picture didn't have this step in it. It was like a gradual, you know, it's sort of, I suppose it spread over like 1.5 inches, something like that. But it was a gradual taper, not a bloody great step like that. That's just been swaged. That's been shoved in the machine and just expanded, and that's it. And the other thing is, I've given the dimensions. They wanted internal dimensions, right? And external, and a wall thickness, which you think, well, if you know the wall thickness, neither of the other two, you can work it out yourself. So I'll give them all that. And it just rattles. They've got it wrong. It says 64mm OD on here. It's not, it's 66. So even you give them all the dimensions, they still get it wrong. And I don't really like it because it's stepped anyway. So I don't know, I might use that on something else, but I ain't using it on this. So that was a bit of a waste of time. But plan A was to use this bit anyway. There's a nice big overlap to this. I've got some spring hooks, so I ain't got to make any more. It's just I'm going to need to move that one that way a little bit. But basically I'm going to chop this off sort of parallel with this surface, if that makes sense, so it's nice and flat there. And then when I'm working with the tube, I know everything's square, I've just got to cut it off straight, and we should marry up quite happily. So he is going to go on the bottom like that. This link pipe is going to be used to join that up to here, and then if I can cut it and just clock it and get the new can where it needs to be, happy days. If not, I've got a mandrel bend that I can chop up and use as well. And this is going to be welded to the can when it gets here, which should be next week. So I'm hoping to get this done next week. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Should look all right actually. I'm hoping it shuts it up. The annoying thing with buying a slip-on can is it doesn't tell you what decibels it's going to produce. Now I suppose they can't really, can they? Because I mean, like, you could stick this can on any engine, but it would be really nice to know. Like if you do a search for an end can for a 600 Bandit, the can that I've got coming came up. So you think, all right, well, how noisy is it on a 600 Bandit? They don't tell you that, because exactly the same can could go on an SV650 or, you know, whatever, and it's going to be different. So that's, you know, it is a bit of a punt. I don't know if it's going to be 99 dBs at all, but we'll just have to wait and see. I've still got the option, because I've got my blanket, I found that. So we've always got the option of wrapping up the dB killer and shoving that in there and see what it does. And we just have to see. The other thing that I've got coming, well, we've had an idea about, is velocity stacks. So I was, I can't remember what I was doing the other night, but I suddenly got a message from John Wood. And he tipped up on the last video, and he sent me a picture, and he says, I've been staring at this for 72 hours or something. Basically, he's got a 3D printer, and he's printing out one of the Eagles from Space 1999. I don't know if you remember them, but he's printing one out. And he goes, well, why can't you just 3D print your velocity stacks just to see? And I'm thinking, oh yeah, oh, that could work. So I dropped, I punted out a message to the boys, Matt and Andy and whatnot. I asked Matt, would it be a doable thing to do it out of ABS? Because I googled it, and ABS is like resistant to lubricants and oils and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I'm thinking, well, it's going to be near petrol. I mean, you know, petrol should be going that way. It shouldn't be going that way, but it's going to be near it. So would doing it out of ABS be a good idea? And he said, yeah. And I've also got a mate locally who's got a 3D printer. I don't know if you remember Matt. He's the fella that initially wired up the lathe for me. And he's got that Harley, but he's got a 3D printer. So I've asked him if he can print me up some velocity stacks, and he said, yeah, he just needs a CAD model. So that's what I've done. And then we've also got loads of people chipped in with dimensions and pictures and everything else. I've got so many pictures of people holding a velocity stack with a ruler next to it, or a set of calipers and everything else. Strangely enough, they're all giving me different measurements, which I thought was brilliant. However, John Allen, legend that he is, he sent me one off his Mark 1 Bandit, so I've actually got one in my hands. And this is what I need to model. I don't need all this guff and gubbins on the outside, because that's where it goes through the airbox. But I've got the, you know, I can measure this obviously, but it's how tall it is and how big this opening is and what sort of radius that is and all that other sort of stuff. So I can now model this, generate a CAD model in Fusion. I can get that over to Matt and he can print me some. So the reason for doing this is I've got aluminium. I could make them out of alley. However, turning them would take bloody ages, if I'm honest. Because although you can turn, you know, the step in it and, you know, have it off to length, and you could do that bit and get some sort of profile in here and everything else, you've got to hollow it out and you've got to try and keep it smooth and even thickness all the way. So I need to get a set of calipers, you know, the calipers that are shaped a bit like that, so you can nip them, you can see what the distance is. I need to get some of them anyway. But it would just be a proper faff. It'd be a cool little lathe project, but it'd take me ages, whereas I could just like CAD it up, because we're only trialling it. You know, if it don't do anything, I'm not making them. But we could CAD it up and 3D print them in ABS plastic, stick them on. What I'll do is I'll just slit it, so when a Jubilee clip goes round, it's got something to clamp down on this lip on the carb, and, you know, keeps it in place and whatnot. And I can sand all the inside as smooth as I can possibly get it. Well, I should be able to get it that smooth, and that was fine. And these are the stock ones. This is what was originally in the airbox, so it's a bloody good starting point as opposed to just making up something, if you know what I mean. So that's what we're doing. So the idea is for Dyno Day Part 4, which as soon as this bit is done, is going back and having it, is next week I should have everything I need for the exhaust. So I can get that built. Matt's going to print me up some trumpets, like I say. I'm going to order some 110 jets as well. I need to drop Crispy a shout and see if he can get me some. But when they come in, might as well just hang on to them, because that's where we'll need it anyway. The only reason for doing that is, in my head, it might be an idea to try reducing the jet size but raising the needle. You know, just to try and get the fuel in right. But a combination, we already know what it does with the Noisy Boy can on it, so that's fine. But this would give us the option of, because I could take that can, that's an easy switch over to do, but it means that we can run with the new exhaust I'll run, with and without the DB killer in it. I could wrap the DB killer and see what difference that makes to noise, because I'll take my noise meter jobby thingy with me as well. Well, actually, I'll probably just do that outside. But we can also do a power run and see what this sort of exhaust can is going to do to power. But I can also run pods and velocity stacks and see what that does. So we should get, you know, quite a few different runs on different setups, and we should be able to get the fuel in absolutely spot on. The power curve is lovely as it is. Doing some of these changes might give us a little bit more power, you know, I don't know. Until we try it, I just don't know. But apparently velocity stacks do make quite a difference. And if it's longer or shorter, that changes peak power and torque and stuff like that. So I'm only going to have the one set to play about with, but yeah, I think it's worth doing. And that way I can just sort of come up with a, all right, well this works. Let's just do that then. The bike is going to be passed on to whoever has it with the Noisy Boy exhaust, just because I really like that exhaust. I really do like that exhaust. It sounds awesome. And the fueling and everything else is what I need to get right. So that's what it's going to be tuned for. But I need to know all this other stuff as well, just because that way I can make an informed decision. And you know, it may be that we go with the smaller jets and dick about with needles to get that can to work even better and get all the fueling laid out properly. Because at the minute, if you look at the dyno curve between sort of 4.5, 5k and 7k, it's lean. And in my head, that's where you spend most of your time. If you're just commuting about and all that sort of stuff, that's where you spend most of your time. And I don't want to have a lean engine for most of its life. I'd rather it was on the rich side, certainly between that bit anyway. So we need to get the fueling right. I don't really care about horsepower, but it would be interesting to see what all this stuff does as far as horsepower goes. I hope that makes sense, because people didn't get it last time I explained it. But that's basically what we're going for. So there is going to be a Dyno Day Part 4. Choosing a test station. But I'm looking for the MSVA test centre in Exeter. I've got their address, but I want to speak to them, and I cannot find their bloody phone number anywhere. Oh, come on, where are you? Oh, here we go. I wonder if that's it.
Please be aware that your call will be recorded for training, monitoring and service improvement purposes.
Well, you're being recorded as well, love.
You can find our latest privacy notices online at gov.uk/DVSA. Thank you for calling the Driver and Vehicle Standards Agency. Please be aware that your call will be recorded for training, monitoring and service improvement purposes. To view our latest privacy notices, please visit www.gov.uk for more information. You will now hear 4 options.
Okay.
If your call relates to a test booking or individual vehicle approval, press 1. For MOT standards inquiry for IVA, COIF or MSVA fee payments or test bookings, press 1. For other scheme test fees and bookings, press 2. Or for advice on the IVA scheme or to discuss an application, press 3.
Go 3.
Thank you for waiting. Your call will be answered by an agent as soon as possible.
Have you heard the hold music? That's music to kill yourself to, that is. Right, so we're just giving the MSVA test centre a call, because I've got some questions that I want answers to before I present this for test. So, you know, we know it's not going to be fully painted or anything else. But it's things like I haven't done all the finished welding on the under tray. It's all tacked in place, it ain't going anywhere. But is it going to be okay to present it like that? Or are they going to look at it going, well, your welding's a bit dodgy, you've only done half of it. Things like dressing up welds, don't really give a monkey's about. You know, the welds on it is way better than Mr. Suzuki did anyway. But, you know, just got a few questions that I want answers to.
We are sorry to keep you waiting. Your call will be answered by an agent as soon as possible.
I bet it's going to be in about an hour's time. Go away, Simon. Right. You can go there. I'll have a brew. We can wait for half hour, and I'll bring you back when I get an answer.
Thank you for waiting. Your call will be answered by an agent as soon as possible.
28 minutes. Told you it'd be about 30. I've just noticed I've got the clutch cable going over top of the throttle cables, and that needs to go underneath. And I've also got the kill switch wire going under the headlamp bracket, and that needs to go over it. I need to change that. I was also watching one of Matt's videos.
Thank you for waiting. Your call will be answered by an agent as soon as possible.
Oh, if she says that one more time. Watching one of Matt's videos all about HDS and electrics, and he was going on about the routing of cabling and protecting it from heat, and where there's got to be gaps and all that sort of stuff. What I'm thinking I'm going to do is to get some conduit, some of that heat resistant tubing that you can get, and put that in P-clips down the inside of the frame, and just use that as a runner to send all my wiring. It's just that from the side angle you won't see it, and it'll all be black, so it'll all just sort of blend in anyway. But it will just keep everything up and out the way instead of having a wrapped up loom. I get what he was saying, the wiring ain't going to be anywhere near the engine. But it would be nice to have it all contained, I think. So I'm going to be doing that. We'll get some conduit, and that's just going to be P-clipped everywhere, and that's what all the cabling's going to go through.
We are sorry to keep you waiting. Your call will be answered by an agent as soon as possible.
This is now my second cup of coffee. And she's still telling me my call is important to him. And I'm starting to not believe her much. 8, 7. Aha! I'm on a roll now. 3.
We are sorry to keep you waiting. Your call will be answered by an agent as soon as possible. We are sorry to keep you waiting. Your call will be answered by an agent as soon as possible.
Hello?
Hello, how can I help you?
Oh, hello there. I've got a... right, okay. I'm building a bike on YouTube, which is radically altered, I think is the phrase that you guys use. It's got bits and various bikes on it. There's an awful lot of fabrication involved. I've just got some questions before I present it for the MSVA test, if that's okay.
See if I can answer. What kind of questions you got?
Okay, well, does the bike have to be all painted up and like its finished coatings and everything else for it to be presented or not?
Well, not necessarily painted, because, of course, no, it doesn't really matter on the paint finish.
It's just if there's anything that needs changing, I don't really want to scrap a paint job to have to weld more brackets on or do whatever. So
yeah, no, it doesn't necessarily have to be painted. No, let me double check that, because. Okay, tell me your other question.
Well, the other thing is I've put in an under tray to it, and it's made out of metal and it's welded to the frame, and it's all tacked in place, but it's not finish welded. So it's like tacked every inch or something. It's not going anywhere. But would that need to all be welded up and dressed up?
In that case, you got a pen?
Yeah.
What is that? Approvals?
Approvals. Yeah.
Full stop technical.
Full stop technical.
Yeah. At DVSA.
Sorry, DV.
SA. Driver Vehicle Standards Agency, DVSA.
Yeah.
.gov.uk. Email them, ask them those questions. Put your SAS number in the email. Put photographs in there as well if you want. Ask them just basic questions like, will this affect the test or whatever you want to know, yeah? And against the paint, but you're asking technical details about the test itself.
Right.
Rather than be told on the phone, which you won't be, better to have it in writing, so that then when you go for the test, but yeah, answer each question in an email. Put it in like bullet points. 1 question, 2 questions, that kind of thing,
Okay.
You have to email them and ask, you will. All right?
No worries. Also, what document? Like, I've got bits from different bikes on this. So a shot from 1 year on a different make of bike and all that sort of stuff. Do I need to provide documentation for all the bits that I've stuck on it, or
any documentation you've got? If you've got it, I'd take it with you. You might not be asked for it, but I'd take it with you. I would. You can ask them that in an email as well. But anything you've got, take it with you, because it's basically like a kit-built bike, really. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
You built that. Yeah, and they'll probably give you a Q plate eventually, will they?
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, but just to ask me an email, I'd take anything with you. I would. Just on the off chance.
Okay. The other thing is there's a 99 decibel limit on the exhaust. How strict is that?
Asking my email. The technical team basically are MSVA to IVA testers. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, if you want to know before, you've got to email them anyway. Some people will go to the test, suspecting it's going to fail, but then they'll know exactly what it fails on. Other people, like you, will want to know beforehand. That's what you have to ask them all by email.
Okay. Presumably,
Right.
if it goes through the test and it fails, I get a list of these are the things it's failed on and what you need to do.
Yeah. You get a list of exactly what it's failed on. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. Do you know what?
And then you pay a lesser amount then for a retest, whether it's like 25, 30 quid or whatever.
Right. Okay. And do you know what the lead time is from applying for a test date to actually getting one?
6 days.
6 days, really? Oh, right. Okay.
Processing. And then you're looking at them for the appointment. I mean, where do you live?
Plymouth.
So you probably be going to Southampton, would you? Southampton, Bristol, or Exeter?
Exeter, I would have thought.
You're all right there, about 2 weeks.
2 weeks, right. Okay,
Yeah.
lovely. All right, then. Thank you ever so much. Thanks for your time.
Cheers, go, all the best.
Cheers. Bye. How long was that? An hour and 20 minutes. Hour and 20 minutes. Right. Well, I've got an email address. I'm just going to have to put everything down in an email and punt it off to them and see what they say. I am going to take a whole load of pictures of the bike before I send it off. But that means I need to get the exhaust all fabricated and like all the lights and blah and just everything. I'm going to send them a separate email with this under tray picture because I don't know if this is all going to need to be finish welded. It's not going anywhere, but you can see it's not finished, and it is just tacked on. So I don't know if they're going to want to see that sort of fabrication completely finished before I present it, because if they do, that's going to be a complete pain to do upside down, is what I'm thinking. But anyway, we'll see what's what. I'm going to punt them an email and see what they say. I will raise a load of questions, and I'll just go through them with the response that I get when I get it. But anyway, the time is now 12:26. I need to chip off and get ready for my work. We'll see you on the next one. Do hope you're well and staying safe. Laters!